Dun, 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 dun. What's up, everybody out there all across the world? My name is Alexander Starr. Let's hit this click show button. Boom. Hey, what's up? I'm Alexander Starr, and I am here with certified life and wellness coach. Did I say that correctly?
Life and mindset, life and wellness. Coach. It's all good.
It's early morning here. Certified life and mindset coach Michelle Reeves, all the way in the UK.
Yep. How you doing? We're
good.
Doing good over here. It is the afternoon here, so it's 2 o'clock our time. So I know it's early where you are.
Yeah, a little bit early. You know, still making it my era in the morning time. I still got my coffee.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't recognize Michelle's voice, then you need to go listen to our This Is My Era podcast at thisismyera.com. We interviewed her and released it like a week or two ago, and it's just an incredible interview. She's doing incredible things, and we had to bring her onto this Facebook Live so that we can talk to her and, you know, we can chat face to face and you all can ask her questions and stuff. So I'm excited to be here with you, Michelle. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do this.
Awesome. Cool. So the purpose of today's show, the topic is how to stop postponing your personal growth. And I'm just going to defer to you for your wisdom. Share it with us, share it with the people, and, you know, let's see what everyone's feeling.
So I think the first thing for me is, you know, some people would say, actually, why do we even need to focus on personal growth in the first place? So let's just go there and start with that. Like, why should we even spend any time working on our personal development? We have businesses to run, or, you know, we might be at college, or we have goals and things we want to do in our lives. So why don't we just get on with doing that? Do we need to even worry about our personal growth? And there's a quote that I really love from Zig Ziglar, and he said, if you are not willing to learn, no one can help you. But if you are determined to learn, no one can stop you. And I love that quote, and I knew you would love it too. It's such a great quote, and it really speaks for me to the whole reason why we need to focus on our personal growth, not just on for example, our business growth or our college goals or whatever it is we're trying to achieve. Because really, your personal growth and your personal development is taking you outside of your comfort zone. It's stretching you. It's allowing you to grow into the next version of yourself. And that will reverberate out into those other areas of your life that you're trying to impact, whether that's your business or college, you know, work, whatever it might be, your family even. All of those areas will be impacted by personal growth and personal development work that you do. So just to kind of cover that off, to start off with, I think that is why, for me, personal growth and personal development is something that, you know, we all need to at least spend some time on.
So,
and then, sorry, go on.
How do you know when you've reached a point where you need to grow? Because I feel like a lot of people get into a routine where, like, let's say you do work hard at what it is you're trying to do, and then you get to a cruise control level and you're comfortable and you're like, okay, you almost feel like I'm there, I made it, right? When you get to that level, how do you kick off and realize, yo, there's still another level?
So the first thing I would say is, if you get to that space, then you want to go ahead and celebrate that before you try and step anywhere beyond that. Because, and we talked a bit about this on the podcast, you know, we often, when we're entrepreneurs or if we're ambitious people, then we tend to always be looking for that next step. So we don't spend enough time sitting in that place of success and saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to give myself a pat on the back because I've reached a goal and I've reached a goal of where I want to be. I've got to a place that I'm happy with. So I think the first thing is to celebrate that. But then when we're at that space, then we can say, okay, so what is the next level? What more can I do? How can I grow into that next version of myself? And often you'll have that kind of little intuition that you'll start to kind of think, well, this is great, but I'd like to do this. And it's at that point that our brain quite often shuts us down. It's at that point where fear kicks in and we go, heck, I'm not ready for that yet. Yeah, I'm not. And that's where the word enough, not enough comes in, where we'll say, I'm not smart enough. I'm not clever enough, I'm not beautiful enough, thin enough, you know, rich enough, influential enough, you know, I don't have enough followers, you know, that not enough, you know, it all comes in. And I'm not talking about you, Alexander. You have made it. You know, you're doing good, you're doing good. But I know personal growth is really important to you as well. And I know we all get to that level. And even the most successful people still kind of look beyond where they are and say, right, what's the next step? What's the next level I can go to? So then, you know, I think when we start to look beyond that point and we start to feel the fear, when fear comes in, it's our brain telling us that there is an opportunity. Yeah. So fear is an opportunity for us to challenge ourselves and to step out of that comfort zone we've got into. And that's where I kind of say, right, this is the time for personal growth.
I love that quote. Fear is an opportunity for us to challenge ourselves. That's like, yo, that's really good. We got some people joining us. What's up, Renee? What's up, Taylor? How's everybody feeling? We're happy to have y'all here with us. Michelle is dropping bombs already, dropping gems. So yeah, we've been talking about why is personal development important. Let's talk about, I think you might have covered this, but let's kind of go over this. What stops us from prioritizing personal growth and development? Because everybody reaches that point where, like, you know, and I think we kind of got this from Jeff Woods in the One Thing podcast. It's like we focus on everything except the most impactful thing, the most impactful goal that's going to really change things. We say we hope we get to complete all these little things so that we can do this one thing that really matters. And that's kind of backwards. So what kind of things stop us from prioritizing our own personal growth?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is fear, which is the thing that we've just talked about. You know, it's a bit scary to try and step beyond where you are, out of your comfort zone, stretching yourself. So I think fear, definitely. But I think also, you know, even if we do know that we want to move forward and stretch ourselves, if we're busy, life's busy. You know, if you're running a business, then you're quite often busy in that business running it. If you're at college, you're busy doing the college work. We kind of get caught up in the busyness of our business, if you like. And, you know, you kind of say to yourself, okay, I'm going to spend some time reading that business book or watching that podcast or listening to that podcast rather, or watching that video on YouTube, or, you know, researching something that can help me. And then you take a look at your to-do list and everything that's on it, and all that learning just drops to the bottom. Yeah. So everything else seems more important. And, you know, if we've got businesses to run, you know, we have customers to serve, social media to schedule, you know, great records to record, whatever it is, you know, that stuff feels like it is a priority for us. But here's the thing for me, if we don't make learning and growing a priority, we're not making our potential future a priority. So, you know, there's a great quote, I can't remember who it's by, but they say, if you always do what you've always done, you're always going to get what you've always got.
Yeah.
So if you don't make a change, then you're not reaching towards your ideal life. You're kind of existing in your current life. Wow,
man. And learning to focus on the next level and prioritizing places that you haven't been. It really requires, like, this is my era mindset, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Another friend of mine, Renda Writer, he's a really dope artist. He like visual artist. He's got this quote on a lot of his pieces that says, "Your comfort zone will kill you." And
so true.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think, you know, the my era mindset, like, you really have to embrace that. This is my era, and the Michelle Reeves coaching mindset is to embrace the person that your comfort zone will kill you. Always look to the next level. And my father actually says something about that as well, because he is an award-winning concert pianist, a classical musician. And, you know, and me following in his footsteps as a recording artist and being in the music industry, I would always take, you know, as an artist, we take so long to finish a song because, I just got to change this one thing. This could be perfect. This could be a little bit better. And my dad is like, you know, the difference between an amateur and a professional is closure, knowing when what you have is good enough and moving on
Wow.
to the next one. And
Mm-hmm.
he basically says, listen, no matter how good you are, there's always another level. No matter how
Mm-hmm.
gifted you are, no matter how accomplished you are, there's always another level. So focusing on that next level and prioritizing getting to that next level, it's a personal choice of your mind and your heart collaborating together. And then from there,
yeah, absolutely. And I think there's also a difference between what I would call reactive growth and intentional growth. So often we will grow because we're taken out of our comfort zone by an event that affects us. So I call that reactive growth. So something happens to us and we have to grow in order to quote unquote survive, if you like, you know, because our brains exist in survival mode sometimes. And, you know, we kind of go back to that, what I call cavewoman or caveman programming, where we're kind of in survival mode. And so we have to grow in order to react. And it might be, for example, I don't know, the first time you go on stage, right? Oh my God, fear sets in. You're like, I'm going to go and be sick, you know, over there because I'm so scared. But you have to react by growing. You have to, you know, learn how to boost your confidence. You have to learn how to take yourself into that place where you can perform, for example. But there's a difference between that reactive growth and what I call intentional growth. So intentional growth is where ahead of time you decide, I'm going to put myself in a place where I need to grow. So I am going to intentionally stretch myself. And I think there's a difference between those two things. And I think really what we're talking about today is that intentional growth. So how to stop postponing your intentional growth rather than that kind of reactive growth.
I like that. So we have some questions from some people.
Cool.
I'm gonna take the first one from Tiago Garcia. What's up, Tiago?
Hey.
Question: how do you galvanize support from close family members who are themselves going through personal growth and might be a few steps behind you in their development? How do you come to them from the space of motivation without making them resentful of how much you've achieved in comparison to them? How do you not alienate those around you?
That's a great question. It's a great question. And how amazing if you've got people in your circle that are growing as well. Because I think, you know, often you can find yourself in a situation where you're growing, but people around you are not growing. Mm-hmm. And that can also be a difficult situation. So I think an interesting way to approach that is from the point of view of understanding that growth, we are all on a timeline. So we're all on a timeline for growth. And you know, some of us are going to be a little further forward than others, but there's no, you know, there should be no judgment for that. Everyone is on their own journey. And some people may be further ahead on their journey or look like they're further ahead on their journey, but actually from a mindset point of view, they could be behind you. So, yeah, so kind of understanding that everyone is where they absolutely should be at that point in time that's right for them. If they are motivated to grow, then they are in that right place. And instead of kind of coming to it from a point of view of how can I make sure I don't alienate people, maybe approaching it from the point of view of how can I serve this person? So how can we work together, regardless of where we are in our growth, to be, for example, accountability buddies? How can we kind of support each other? How can you maybe ask for support from them and also give support to them by showing that accountability, regardless of where they are, and kind of showing up to serve in that way? Does that answer the question? I hope that's helpful.
I think so. Yeah, how serving people, I think, is the number one goal that everybody should have in life. When you serve other people, everything that you do becomes valuable to other people, right? That's how you establish value. So I think that was, incredible, fantastic question, Thiago. We got another question.
Yeah. Thanks for that question. That was a great question.
Yeah. This one comes from Mrs. Taylor Lynn Davis. What's up, Tay? Question: Would you consider someone continually trying new things as learning, parentheses, an entrepreneur trying a new tool for social media or SEO, for example? Or are you saying we need to take it a step further for structured learning like reading or taking a course?
So I think really growth is about whatever is right for you at that moment. So wherever it is that you need to grow yourself, that is the right growth for you. So if you are, so for example, if you're trying new things as an entrepreneur, trying a new tool like social media, hey, that can be scary. That can take you out of your comfort zone. Yeah, so you will need to grow in certain ways as a person and step into the mindset of being a person who is comfortable with social media if you've never done it before. Yeah, so you are having to grow yourself into that space. And the same way, but absolutely learning, like reading, taking a course, listening to podcasts, reading inspirational books, watching inspirational things on YouTube, those things can also help you to grow. But it's about taking action. And I think one of the tips really that I've got for and I've got like 6 different tips here for making personal growth and learning a priority, which maybe we can kind of get to, and this might help to answer Taylor's question. One of them is absolutely putting what you learn into action, because listening to a podcast or reading a book, it's great, but just doing that reading or learning isn't actually active learning. So most of what you learn leaks out through your mind like a sieve. If I asked you about all the things that you watched yesterday that were inspirational, I bet you couldn't name it all of them. There might have been a moment in the day where it made you go, hey, that was great, I feel really good about that. But did you actually take action on it? Right. Because, and I think this is the ethos of This Is My Era as well. It's not just about learning and growing. It's about taking action on that learning, because that is where we grow. So, real learning also comes from mistakes. And that is a hard thing to do, because we do not want to make mistakes. Yeah. So like Taylor says, needing to take it a step further for structured learning, like reading or taking a course. Absolutely. Reading, taking courses, all those things are great. But until you put that stuff into action and start learning from your own mistakes, then you're not really learning, because we learn by doing and we learn by making mistakes. And that is how we grow into that next version of ourselves, because we learn to overcome those mistakes. It's like when a child learns to walk, right? When a child is learning to walk, they learn how to walk by falling down and getting back up again. And that is how we learn too, because that falling down and getting back up again, that grows the strength in their muscles that they need to be able to walk.
Wow.
And we're the same. We need to flex our personal growth muscles. We need to flex our mindset muscles in order for them to grow so that we can benefit from them.
That's an excellent metaphor. Just, comparing yourself to a baby, because we are really just babies who have been here a lot longer.
And, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think as we get older and we grow up, we become afraid to let people see us fail. We think that we have to do it right. And
yes, oh my gosh, yeah, fear of failure is massive. It is such a huge thing, and it is one of the main things that holds people back in their life and their business.
Yeah, and it's about face, right? Like a kid doesn't care how they look, right? They're gonna try and reach those cookies on the counter, even if they flip the chair over and fall backwards, whatever. I still want those cookies. Adults, we're like social, right? How does this look to others? If I'm trying too hard, I don't want to see people see me trying so hard. And that's really the wrong mindset to have. And I think you just saying that baby metaphor, babies learn by falling, and they learn to walk by falling. That's just so perfect. Apply that to adulthood, everyone.
Yeah, and another little tip on that for you is if you're afraid to fail, then you can shift your mind. If you shift your mindset away from the kind of like success versus failure paradigm, which is where we kind of get stuck. We get stuck in that I'm either successful or I'm a failure. We kind of get stuck in that paradigm. If you can shift away from that into a mindset of continual learning by telling yourself that you're just experimenting. Yeah, I'm just playing with this. I'm just going to experiment and see what happens. I'm not like putting my whole all into this thing right now. I'm just playing with it. Yeah, let's just see what happens. If it doesn't work, it's no big deal. I'm just playing. And then it kind of takes you away from that, oh my goodness, success or failure, and just allows you to approach it with curiosity.
Yeah, I feel, let's definitely be curious, everybody. Figure out what it is that you can do, and don't think of any reasons why you can't do it. Just
right.
Yeah. So
right.
do you have any more tips that you can share for tips to stop postponing personal growth? Let's just get some icings on it.
Yeah, I do have some more tips. So another tip I have is if you if you find that your personal growth kind of slips to the bottom of your to-do list because everything else is piling up on top, then you can ask yourself, what problem am I trying to solve? So if our learning and growth and development has a purpose, it's much easier to make it a priority. Yeah. So if you think about what your key challenges are in life or in business or in work or whatever it is you're trying to achieve, and turn those into questions, then you can use your personal development and learning time that you set aside for that to answer those questions. And that actually tends to make it much easier to do that prioritizing, prioritizing that personal growth. So what questions can you turn that into? And then when we've got a purpose behind it to actually answer those questions, it also switches our brains into investigation mode. So it's much harder to kind of fear failure when our brains are actively looking for something. It's like going into the Googles. I call it going into the Googles. When you're searching for something, you're very actively looking. Yeah, you're trying to find something. And it's very hard to fear things when you're trying to find something because your brain is doing that piece of work. So that would be a fun little tip to try, is turning your personal growth into questions that you can answer. So for example, let me give you an example of that. So say your personal growth is around a mindset challenge. Yeah, I want to stop being so negative all the time. I want to shift out of negativity. Then you can turn that into a series of questions. So you can say to yourself, when am I most negative? Around which kind of people am I most negative? Yeah. Or what times of day am I most negative? When am I not negative? What are things that spark positivity for me? What things spark negativity for me? And kind of just become a bit of an investigator and kind of go, go and answer some of those questions. And it allows us to start shifting our mindset into more of an investigation mode. And then we can say, okay, so we've got these questions. Now we need to go find answers for those questions. And that's where you'll start looking for tools and techniques and people and coaches and inspirational people, and podcasts and what have you that can help you to do that work.
And these are all amazing, excellent questions that you can write in your This Is My Era daily planner.
In you.
Boom.
Shout out for the planner. I use it every day, guys. Seriously, it helps me with my business and my life, so I love it. I've got a couple of others as well, because I don't know if we've had a question about this, but it quite often comes up when I'm working with a client, with a coaching client. They'll say, I do really want to learn and grow, and my inbox is full of great emails from all these people that I follow, but heck, my inbox is full of all these emails from all these people that I follow. I'm inviting all this personal growth and development in, but I can't get to it. Overwhelm hits because, my inbox is full and I just don't know kind of how to cope with that. And this is really, really tempting to subscribe to like every personal development blog and business newsletter and podcast and YouTube channel out there, because you just want to soak up all this learning and that it's going to make you, a better version of yourself, or a better manager or father or mother or, whatever. But when your inbox is flooded, you are much more likely to hit delete and to lose out on all that potential learning. So I would always recommend be quite selective about your learning. Try to avoid that overwhelm by, minimizing the different sources that you choose. Read, who you read and who you follow should be based on the questions that you're trying to address, which we talked about just before. So once you've got those questions, then start looking for people that can help you answer those questions. And if some of the sources that you're going to are not answering those questions, unsubscribe from those guys. Yeah, you can always go back to that later if that's the next stage of your development. But while your inbox is flooded with stuff, you are just going to delete it all, and overwhelm's going to kick in, and you will go back to your comfort zone because it starts to get too much, right? So we need to create the conditions, the environment for ourselves to help us to learn and grow. And overwhelm is not a good place to learn and grow from. We need to ditch that overwhelm first. So for example, what you could do in your inbox is I have like a series of folders in my, I use Google Inbox, and I have a series of folders. So I have like a personal development one, and I kind of put emails in where people have sent me, you know, here's the latest podcast, or here's the latest video or course or something I'm doing. And I'll put them into a folder, and I will not look at them day to day, but then I will schedule a time in my calendar once a week where I will go through those, and I'll make a decision. I'll say, and I'll read it, and I'll make a decision on the 2 Ds. I'm either going to ditch it or I'm going to develop it. So ditching it, we just delete it and we move forward. If you're going to develop it, then you take action, you write it down. You say, I am going to take action on this. I'm going to do it this date, and this is how I'm going to move forward with it. So like that ditch and develop really helps to remove some of that overwhelm.
And Taylor has a good comment on that. She said, such good advice. I had to take a step away from several resources, unsubscribe, stop looking, not clicking on social media because it definitely overwhelmed me. Yeah,
it so does. And I really want to acknowledge Taylor for that, because it, you know, it's so hard to do. You know, we feel like if we're not absorbing all this information, we have this fear of missing out. We feel like we're missing out on something. But the thing is, it's always going to be there. You know, there are always going to be sources available to you when it's your time to have them, you know, when it's your time to learn from them. And if you're in a place of overwhelm, you are not going to be able to benefit from them. And also, you're not going to be able to take the action, which is what we were talking about before. You know, we're not going to be able to take action on those learning sources. And I think, you know, when we're talking about implementing that, it's about making personal development a non-negotiable for you. So say, you know, if we have an important event or a deadline, you know, you have a meeting that you've got to go to, you have a concert that you have to perform at, you have an event you're going to go to, you put it on your calendar, don't you? And you get it done because it's on the calendar, right? It's a non-negotiable.
Right.
You have made a commitment to somebody else. How often do we make that commitment to ourselves, guys? So hard to do, right? But we need to put that time in our calendar for ourselves. So approach our personal learning, our personal growth in the same way. You know, set a time each week or each month where we focus wholly on learning something new that we know is going to grow us. You know, just one thing, and calendarize it and put it on that calendar. Or maybe once a month, give yourself a personal development day. I find it really, you know, as an entrepreneur, I find it really common that people that work for themselves do not have as much development as people that work for corporations. So when I was back, you know, I worked over 10 years in corporate life. And when I was working for big household brands in marketing and PR, we would have scheduled development days. So, or half days where our boss would say, okay, you know, what courses do you want to do? What do you want to learn? And we would have that time. But as an entrepreneur, we don't put that time aside because we want to be focusing on building our business. And we tend to not do that, not put that on the calendar. So I like to give myself, be my own boss, if you like, be my own manager, and give myself like a half day or a development day where I say, right, I'm going to learn something today. I'm going to do a course. I'm going to learn from the people that inspire me. And, you know, get away from your desk if you can, so you're not tempted to check your email, get distracted, and actually really enjoy spending that time focusing on you and then sharing it with people. You know, the best way, or one of the best ways to learn is to teach. So when we teach somebody something we've learned, we learn it twice. And you tend to learn, you tend to retain a lot more information when you teach it to somebody else. So when you learn something, and this goes back to that question maybe that we had earlier about how can we help other people that are on our journey, you know, maybe, and I wouldn't say just kind of like go out there and start lecturing people, definitely not, because that's not going to, you know, create rapport with people. But, you know, if you can offer a piece of advice from something that you've learned, they will benefit, but you will benefit too, because you will be learning it again.
Wow. So take a personal staff retreat and go throughout.
Yeah.
Put it on your calendar. If things aren't on my calendar right here, I told the doctor, listen, don't write out an appointment card because it's gonna get lost as soon as I get in the car. I put it in my phone calendar. If it's not in there, it flies over my head. So yeah, I mean, I practice that. Like if I need to, you know, read this or study this or whatever I need to do, I put it on my calendar, and that will remind me, because I forget which podcast we said this in. Oh no, it was a piece of media that we're doing. If you try and rely on your memory alone to do things and to get things done, it's going to get lost in the scramble, especially if you have 100 different things going on. You're going to remember it a week after you were supposed to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So do you have any more tips for us before we can let them know where to find you, how to get what you're doing, how to support you?
So I think I kind of covered most of the tips. But what I would say is, if people want to if they want to see the tips, because if they've kind of not been writing notes or listening to this while they're doing something else, then I've put together a little handout that people can go and grab. So look at that. There it goes. He's putting it up the link. So you can download the handout at michellereevescoaching.com/growth. And it's like a little, it's like a few pages, and there are spaces for you to make your own notes. And it's kind of taken these tips kind of to the next stage, so you can ask yourself some of these questions, turn the questions into learning opportunities. And yeah, and I hope it's useful for people to kind of do that and start making their own growth a priority.
Okay. Beautiful. Michelle, you are like awesome. It's been such a pleasure to talk with you.
Oh, bless. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I love our time.
Yeah, thank you for being a part of the This Is My Era movement and for sharing your wisdom with us. And listen,
absolutely,
listen to the podcast, everybody. You got to go download, you got to go listen to the This Is My Era podcast. It's on thisismyera.com. I'm throwing the link up right now. Michelle's episode is awesome. Make sure you subscribe. We're on iTunes and all that great stuff. And boom, switching up. This is my first time doing this live thing, so I'm trying to handle all the driver controls and stuff.
You're doing great. It's been so much fun.
I appreciate it. You know, we're doing our best to make things work because this is our era.
It is.
So once again, Michelle, we really thank you. We really appreciate you. You're going to see a lot more This Is My Era Michelle collaborations, everybody. And again, go to michellereevescoaching.com/growth. I didn't put the /growth on there. Next time we'll. Shout out to everybody who came in, Taylor, Thiago, everybody else for being a part of this video podcast. Now I feel like I'm getting nervous. I'm like, I'm closing an online video chat. Listen.
You're stepping out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, totally. I'm comfortably uncomfortable because I don't want to leave, but we gotta go. I'm about to head to New York City, so I'll see y'all later. We're gonna hop on this flight and make more things happen because this is our era. Michelle, anything else you want to say before we leave?
Awesome. No, and if anyone's got any questions, then absolutely get in touch with me. You can find me on Facebook as Michelle Reeves Coaching. You can hit me up with a DM. Absolutely happy to answer any other questions or pop them below this video. And the guys from This Is My Era can let me know and I can answer them for you guys too.
Awesome. Michelle, blessings and love.
Take care, my man. Have a good trip.
Thank you. Talk soon.
Okay, bye.
Goal getters, you're one goal away. Peace.